The paths of truth. Can you speak of the limitations of the accepted paths of truth? In our search for truth, beginning with an examination or inquiry into the world before us, we use as our instrument the faculty of reason. This reason can well be divided into two. One is the lower reason, which is exercised by the mind in examining the mutual relationship of objects from the intellect down to the gross world. The other is higher reason, or transcendental reason, which is exercised in examining the mind and its objects, both gross and subtle, with a view to discover their real content. There are usually three accepted paths to the truth. They are the paths of devotion, yoga, and jnana. That is, bhakti, and jnana is knowledge. Of these three, devotion and yoga deal only with relative things falling within the sphere of the mind and sense organs, taking into consideration only experiences in the waking state. Their findings, therefore, can only be partial and incomplete. The jnana path looks from a broader perspective and comprehends within its scope both yoga and devotion. It takes into consideration the whole of life's experiences, comprised in the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep, which are viewed impartially. It demands a high degree of real devotion, in the sense that the aspirant has to have a high degree of earnestness and sincerity to get to the truth. But this is real devotion to the truth, and it is infinitely superior to devotion to anything else, which can only be less than the truth. The yogi controls, sharpens, and expands the mind to its maximum possibilities, sometimes attaining samadhi and powers, siddhis, on the way. But in the case of those who follow the jnana path, the mind is analyzed impartially and minutely, and it is proved to be nothing other than pure consciousness itself, beyond which there is no further power or possibility of development. So it is through jnana alone that truth can be visualized, while yoga and devotion only prepare the ground for it. What are the paths to realization? According to the traditional method, they are mainly bhakti, devotion, yoga or meditation, and jnana, knowledge. Each of these paths, though dominated by one particular aspect and approach, happily has something of the other two also in it. Take, for example, Raja Yoga. Let us analyze its composition. Why does one take to this laborious practice? Evidently for the pleasure and powers one expects out of it. This desire for happiness is the function of the heart and is nothing but bhakti for your real nature of happiness. The discriminative faculty and the reasoning aspect, much emphasized in the course of this path, is really but the jnana aspect. And the active contemplation and other exercises from the preponderating yogic element as well. Thus, all the three paths have their proper place in Raja Yoga. It is the same with the other two paths. Therefore, none of these paths is exclusive or watertight. Can you speak of the path of the I thought? The ordinary man has the deep samskara, the deep inclination or tendency ingrained in him that he is the body and that it is very, very insignificant compared to the vast universe. Therefore, the only possible mistake you are likely to be led into while taking to the I thought is the habitual samskara of the smallness attached to the I. This mistake is transcribed and transcended by the contemplation of the aphorism about Brahman. I am Brahman. Brahman is the biggest imaginable conception of the human mind. The conception of bigness is no doubt removes the idea of smallness, but the idea of bigness, which is also a limitation, remains over. So ultimately, this idea of bigness has also to be removed by contemplating another aphorism, which is Prajanam Asmi. I am consciousness. Consciousness can never be considered to be either big or small, so you are automatically lifted beyond all opposites. What is the jnana path to truth in more detail? It consists of both the traditional path and the direct path. According to the traditional path, a jnana sadhak, a true aspirant, directed by a jnana or compassion guru, has to pass through 4 definite stages in regular order. The first is to know it from the lips of the guru. The second, to enjoy it, and that is by the dint of personal effort. And the third is to become it. And the fourth, to be it. This method is built upon the samskara conditioning of duality, so that the teaching lasts even after being it. This trace of duality has yet to be transcended in order to get to the ultimate truth. But according to the direct path to the truth, non-duality is emphasized at the very start, proving that there is nothing other than knowledge. The samskara of duality immediately disappears. Thus, to know it is to be it. And so there is, practically speaking, only one step to the ultimate truth. What is the difference between the approaches to the truth in the Upanishads and the direct path? All the Upanishadic methods try to eliminate you from the non-self and to establish you in the Atma, the self. But here, according to the direct method, you are shown that you can never get away either from your own shadow or from reality. You are only asked to look deep into what you call the non-self, anatma, and see beyond the shadow of a doubt that it is nothing but Atma, reality. How is truth experienced? According to the traditional or cosmological path, it is believed that the truth dawns upon the sadhak as a mark of divine grace. After a prolonged practice of concentration, the spiritual aspirant, after first hearing the truth from the guru, immerses himself in that. But under a guru who has established himself in the natural state and adopts the direct path to the truth, it is quite different. He is truth itself and knows the truth. This Satguru stands in need of no grace from elsewhere to lead his disciple to the truth. He knows well how to tell the disciple what the truth is and can safely take him directly to it, here and now. But the disciple has, of course, to make some effort after that to establish himself in the truth thus realized, to reach the natural state. As it states in the Yoga Vasista, between two thoughts, I am in my real nature. To be deeply convinced of it is alone needed to establish you in the absolute. What are the methods of self-realization? The cosmological method consists of three distinct stages. Shravana, the listening to the truth from the lips of the Guru. Thinking over it with concentrated attention over and over again. And Nidhyasana, thinking profoundly about that truth with the aid of reason. And this last exercise leads you to a state called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where the mind remains in a state of stillness and you stand as the witness of everything. By getting accustomed to this state, by dint of the prolonged practice of samadhi, one day the seed of truth received from the Guru in the form of the aphorism, I am consciousness, prajanam asmi, bears fruit, and you realize your real nature of consciousness. This is self-realization. In the direct method, you listen to the truth from the lips of the Guru, and you visualize your real nature, the truth, then and there. Then you are asked to cling on to the truth so visualized, either by listening to the Guru as often as possible, or by repeating the same or other arguments to prove your real nature over and over again. This last course is also another form of listening to the Guru, and it takes you without fail to that very same experience you had at first. Therefore, listen, listen, listen to the Guru. This is the direct method. You see, the methods usually adopted for self-realization are of two kinds. The first is the absorption process, or one might call the traditional method. The second is the separation process, or the direct method. Those that are yogically minded jnanins usually adopt the first method, that of absorption. Here you try to purify the mind and make it more and more sattvic and peaceful, until at last you make it fit to be absorbed into your own self. There is still another application of the process of absorption. The object is at a distance. You bring it nearer by seeing. You bring it still nearer by loving. And lastly, by knowing, you absorb it into you. The real jnanis adopt the second method, that of separation. The ordinary man's self is a crude mixture of the real self with a lot of accretions, such as body, senses, and mind. By proving, with the aid of reason and your own direct experience, that you are not the body, senses, or mind, thus shown, you stand separate from all of these and remain in your real self. According to this process, everything from the intellect down to the body and the world become objects to be separated from you. Well, can you look at the traditional course to realization as it might be interpreted in the light of the direct path or the direct method? The traditional course of realization is through Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. This may be cosmologically termed as listening, thinking, and reflecting deeply. But in the light of the direct method, they may be interpreted to mean listening to the words of the Guru about truth, thinking with the aid of the intellect and reason over the truth which has been expounded, and the Anubhava, contemplating profoundly in the light of higher reason about the truth as one's own real nature, till the truth descends deep into one's own being and is experienced. According to this method, the ultimate test of realization is whether the higher reason endorses your experience as true. If it does, realization is complete. But can you talk about the difference between the traditional or cosmological path of jnana as opposed to the direct path? In the direct path, also called Vichara Marga, if the aspirant is found to be tolerably sincere and earnest to get to the truth, he is accepted as a disciple of the Compassion Guru. Then the whole truth is expounded to him, and the aspirant who listens to the talks of the Guru with rapt attention is made to visualize the truth then and there. Having secured the strongest certitude and affirmation from his own being regarding the correctness and intensity of his experience of truth, he is asked to cling onto it in his own way. This clinging on in due course makes his own real nature of truth more and more familiar to himself. And thus, he gets gradually established in reality. There is nothing that can be an obstacle to him at any stage. But the case of the aspirant following the traditional or cosmological path to the truth, it is quite different. After a long and arduous course of preliminary exercises, the Guru one day explains the meaning of the aphorism, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, and proves that the substance of the individual and of the cosmos is one and the same. But this knowledge remains with the aspirant only as indirect knowledge or objective knowledge. In order to make this knowledge direct and to experience the truth, the aspirant, the sadhak, has to continue his efforts for very many years by way of contemplating on 3 further aphorisms, one after the other, each for a different purpose. The main difficulties in the indirect experience of truth are firstly, the distance and strangeness of Brahman, and second, the smallness or I as usually understood, and third, the bigness of Brahman, which is also a limitation. But the remedies are deeply contemplating on the aphorism, I am Brahman, and to have immediate and intimate contact with the true I. Next, by contemplating on the aphorism, Brahmavaham Asmi, the sense of smallness usually attributed to the I is sought to be removed. And lastly, by contemplating on the aphorism Prajanam Brahma, the sense of bigness, the natural corollary of the concept of Brahman, is also eliminated, leaving the self, Atma, as the ultimate I principle or pure consciousness. There is a contrast here with the direct method, where it is expounded at the very outset that I am consciousness, which corresponds to the meaning of the aphorism in the cosmological path. This does not leave any room for any subsidiary problem, and the aspirant visualizes the real nature of the self instantaneously. He has only to cling on to that experience in order to get established in it. Are all indirect paths to the truth ultimately bringing someone round to the direct path? Innumerable paths have been adopted from time immemorial for the attainment of truth, and sages who came out that way had also been not few. The path adopted by the majority was cosmological. Whatever sadhana, or spiritual discipline or practice one might adopt in the beginning, actual visualization is possible only through the direct method represented in the aphorism Prajanam Asmi, I am consciousness.